Having digested the Scottish budget, we thought it would be useful to draw out a number of things of particular importance to personal taxpayers. The largest element of Scottish devolved taxes is income tax, and we got guidance not just for the forthcoming year, but for the year beyond that. It was announced that there will be no change in the number of bands of income tax. There are now 6 in Scotland, with the introduction last year of an advanced band for those with Scottish relevant income above £75,000. So it will stick with 6, and the rates in these bands will also remain the same. And this was confirmed, as I say, going into the rest of the Scottish Parliament, which in effect means one more Scottish budget. However, there was a change to the thresholds for income tax. This worked at the bottom end. The 2 lowest thresholds were raised by about twice the rate of current inflation, which means that those at that lower end will pay a small amount less tax than they would in the rest of the UK, and indeed less than they are paying in the current tax year when this comes into effect. However, the other tax thresholds were frozen at their current levels. And what this means is that by the process of fiscal drag, more and more people will be dragged into these higher bands as wages and salaries and other income rises. So those at the top end will pay considerably more, again, a bit more than they did last year, but considerably more than their equivalents in the rest of the UK. So it's a process whereby those at the lowest end will pay a little bit less, and that's the majority of Scottish taxpayers, but those at the higher end will pay considerably more. The major exception to what was largely a steady-as-she-goes budget was a surprise increase in the rate of additional dwelling supplement. This is an increase in land and buildings transaction tax, which is colloquially known as Scottish stamp duty, and affects people buying properties other than their main residence, and actually sometimes their main residence. And it's gone up in, as I say, a surprise move from 6% to 8%. And that 8% represents a doubling from only a very few years ago. It is now a major component in many people's purchase of dwelling houses. It requires, or at least can receive, a good deal of planning in relation to it, but that planning would be necessary in many cases. It is a very serious tax for those wishing to buy property to live in. Released with the Scottish budget was a paper called Scotland's Tax Strategy. This has been in embryo for a large number of years and attempts to set out the principles by which at least this Scottish Government would carry out their taxation functions in years to come. It covers a wide range of potential changes and developments of the tax system. It's more of a menu than an absolutely guarantee of what is coming, and various things could be selected from that menu. A number of things might cause worries for personal taxpayers. There's mention in particular of the potential of a wealth tax, of a land value tax, and of possible other taxes that will come. Now, these are not certain that they will come, and many of the areas remain dealt with by Westminster rather than by Holyrood. But, as I say, it is a slightly worrying development. One of their aims was to maximise their income tax and other tax revenues, which is a bit more of a policy aim than a strategy for the future. They've often said, including in this budget, that those with the broadest shoulders must bear the greatest burden. Their problem may be that some of those with the broadest shoulders may take their shoulders and the rest of their tax revenues elsewhere.